What's the purpose of emotions? Why do we have emotions? How can I get rid of them? Hello, my name is Jennifer Van Wyk, and I'm a psychotherapist for over a decade. And I also have been a humanitarian for just as long, which means I work in war zones, conflict zones, epidemics, natural disasters, and I set up programs and try and assist people recover from these traumatic events, especially in Western culture, but in many cultures all over the globe, and I've been to 60 different countries. People are very afraid of emotions. We don't know how to manage them. We don't know why they're here, what they're doing. They're illogical. They come out of nowhere and hit us and lay us flat on the ground. Sometimes they make us make really bad decisions. They can really wreak havoc in our life. And I really hope that after this video, you'll be able to see how important emotions are and really why we have them. So that's what this video is about. So there's 4 main reasons why we have emotion. The first one is something that I actually came across in my thesis. I used to really be very anti-emotion. I loved just thinking and being rational and logical. This is my favorite because it's so controllable. Emotions are very controllable. But what I found with my thesis is that actually emotions are the engine of our life. I came up with a metaphor of us being a car, and if we're the car, then our brain is the steering wheel. It helps us decide where we want to go. Our consciousness is kind of the GPS system, and our emotions are the engine. So if we don't have any emotions, then we're kind of just sitting in the parking lot, just moving the steering wheel, not going anywhere. Emotions really help us break through that resistance we have to change. So for example, anger, healthy anger, is that motivation to create good boundaries or needed boundaries. Healthy fear is that mobilizes us to do something, whether it be fighting, like running, freezing, or fawning, to protect our own well-being, right? These different emotions, whatever they are, it's what really makes us human. It's what defines us from a rock or a tree, although there's even research coming out about that. So emotions are really, it's what makes us alive, essentially. Which is actually the second thing that emotions, the purpose of emotions, is they are what make us alive. There's some theories about depression and how it is just a lack of vitality. It's not the feeling of sadness, it's the feeling of numbness. And oftentimes what we can do if we have a major life event or some big emotion and we don't know how to handle it, we'll just numb it off. But the thing about emotions is it's kind of all or none. So you can't just numb off anger, or you can't just numb off sadness. It's all of them, right? And when you numb off your emotions, you just feel less alive. It's hard to engage, which brings us to the third purpose of emotions. And this is that emotions really help us connect to people. If someone's genuine, then it's a lot easier to connect with them because they're showing what their emotions are. We can trust that. We know where we stand. We know what they're thinking and feeling. And then also we can resonate with them. You can't connect really to somebody without there being some sort of emotional process going on. So emotions allows us to engage in life and really connect to people. Again, when you're numb, you're disengaged. You feel like you're not part of life. You're an outsider. You're on the outside looking in, and that can lead to depression for sure. And also, it's what makes life miserable. So unfortunately, although numbness can be very helpful at times, and there's no judgment if that's your chosen defense mechanism. The downsides is that it really cuts out your vitality, and it prevents you from being able to genuinely connect with others. Now, the last purpose of emotions, the fourth one, is the most beautiful, I think, and is something that has really shaped and formed my life continuously to this day, to this morning. And that's that emotions really provide guidance. We've got different parts of ourselves. So we've got our brain, which is rational, logical, very important. It's what helps us function in our everyday lives, right? It's what helps us think about and learn and grow and process and understand. Very, very important. Equally as important as the heart. I just tend to focus on the heart more because in Western society, the brain is already very well developed. It doesn't need so much more focus. So we've got the brain, we've got the heart, and then we have our subconscious. And then we also have like our high self, or our intuition, or the spirituality, whatever spirituality you believe in. And the heart and emotions are really the center of all of those. So emotions are how our subconscious speaks to us. It's how it communicates to us. Emotions and visuals. That's why I often like dreams. But we remember stuff. We categorize our memories and our thoughts through our emotions. So emotions is kind of the language of the subconscious, and it's what helps us understand what's going on and how we can address it, take care of it, heal it, transform it, and integrate it, whatever that wisdom is in the subconscious. Similarly, exact same thing with our high self. It's how our high self or the divine also speaks to us. I will say that intuition, so however that looks for you, intuition is not actually emotional in and of itself, but it will speak to our emotions. Emotions is how our attention is grabbed. So if you're having an emotion, it's kind of like, hey, pay attention, I have something to say. That's what that emotion is. So it can be that guidance. And then when you take that moment to sit down and just feel it, you can often hear what the message is, although that message can be very unpredictable. There's not always a clear-cut correlation between the message and the emotion. So perhaps I might be feeling angry. If I go in and sit in my anger, perhaps the message is this yearning to connect with somebody else. It has nothing to do with anger, but it's just how my attention was grabbed. And it was that signal to just come in and focus on myself. Emotions also provide guidance in terms of what should we do in our life, right? Oftentimes, our natural state, according to cognitive behavioral therapy, is that we are like a sun. So we're naturally happy. And then what happens is different things can come in, just like clouds, and cover it up. And our goal or our purpose is to try and take those things away so that we can naturally be happy again. So you don't have to try and be happy. You just have to move things away so that your happiness naturally shines through. And emotions can really be that signal, that signpost of, hey, there's a block right here, you need to clear it. And that's what's so important about if we're upset and we blame other people or other circumstances, even though those other people are 100% responsible, for sure, without a doubt, for their actions and behaviors, we can still take some power back and be responsible for what are we going to do now. So if someone really insults me and kicks me and beats me, let's say, that is their fault completely. I am not saying anything otherwise. And what am I going to do with that information? I'm hurt, I'm angry. Am I going to just beat and kick back? That's definitely one option. Am I going to set boundaries? Am I going to create some space? There's no right answer. It's you just tuning into yourself and what is it that your emotions are telling you to do, or what are those emotions getting your attention for, and then how can you go deeper and connect to your high self or your divinity, or your best self, to figure out what you're going to do, right? And then that gives you the power again, because no matter what people do to us, I always have power, or I always have a choice in how I'm going to respond. My choices might be really crappy here and even more crappy here, right? But it's still my choice of how am I going to respond. And there's also situations where we think someone's being mean to us and actually they didn't mean to be, and we're interpreting it, right? And so in those situations, that's why it's really important to use your emotions as guidance to come back inside and think about, okay, is this my defense? Is this my wound that's making me see the world a certain way, or is the world really that way? And those very different actions are then required depending on what answer you get. So I think emotions are absolutely essential, not only because they motivate us, but also because they make us alive. They help us connect to life and others, which is personally what makes my heart sing. And they also have so much guidance and wisdom and give us so many opportunities to grow and change and make our lives better, clear those blocks away so that we can shine our happiness more freely. So I hope that was helpful. I hope perhaps that takes out the fear of emotions. I do want to really state that just because you have an emotion, it doesn't mean you have to obey that emotion. There's a big difference between listening and obeying. I think we always have to listen and acknowledge, but then we use all the different parts of ourselves, like our brain, like our wisdom and our heart and our body knowledge, to then make a decision of how we want to move forward. So emotions are certainly a very, very, very essential ingredient to life and making it better. And they don't need to be also the ones that are driving all of our decisions. They're more messengers of information. I hope that was helpful. Subscribe or like if you like this video, and feel free to send me different ideas of questions you have. Thank you very much.